Of all the presidents I researched and wrote about for this series for Marketer in Chief originally and making them into the book, the one that surprised me the most, bar none, there are a lot of presidents like you I probably didn't know much about. And I feel really thankful to have gotten to know as many as I did. But this one in particular, Chapter 31 for Herbert Hoover, was the one I thought I knew, or I thought I had a sense for, and was completely and utterly 100% wrong. And of all the chapters, this was maybe one of the most satisfying to write. And I want to read you a little bit about just one of the episodes of Herbert Hoover's life in the 1920s that really paints him in a very different picture than the kind of heartless, kind of capitalist that he kind of ignored the suffering of people as we went into the Great Depression and the Hoovervilles and all of that stuff. I want to read you a little bit about the Commission for the Relief in Belgium, the CRB, and that, along with 9 other incidents I talk about in this chapter, really will absolutely change your opinion of where Herbert Hoover sits in your kind of in your mind, if you think about him at all, where he sits in your mind about just the kind of person he was and where we might be thinking about him a little bit differently, and kind of letting the winners kind of write history for us and how dangerous that can be sometimes. So here's the excerpt today for the Commission for Relief in Belgium. When the Great War broke out in Europe, also known as World War I, Herbert Hoover was a mining engineer in Great Britain. In the early days of the war, Herbert personally organized the effort to secure emergency passage home for 120,000 Americans, basically on IOUs. The program, in the end, indeed did lose money, but only about $300, or about a penny per person. Not bad, huh? It didn't take long for the German army to overrun its smaller neighbors. As a small, urban-centric country, Belgium produced only about 25% of the food it needed to feed its population. Keeping occupied populations fed and clothed was way down on the German command's priority list, and it didn't take long for the situation to become severe. Put simply, the Belgian population was starving to death. Based on his experience coordinating massive projects like the one I talked with you about, Hoover was the natural choice to lead the relief effort. The genius of the program was recognizing the combination of logistics and politics. Simply getting food through the British blockade and into a war zone was no easy feat, but the politics of the situation was the true sticky wicket. Simply shipping food into the country wouldn't work. The German commanders would quickly redirect that food to their own troops. However, the United States was a neutral country at the beginning of the war. Hoover made sure that the food was the property of the American ambassador up to the point it was distributed to the Belgian citizens. In practical terms, much of the relief amounted to giant sacks of flour from the American heartland, nearly 700 million pounds during the war to feed 11 million people. It should be noted, by the way, that Winston Churchill, yes, that Winston Churchill, argued that the Germans should be responsible for providing for the needs of occupied territories, and if necessary, the Belgian people should starve to death to pressure the Germans into reconsidering. To paraphrase a 21st century expression, that was a dick move. Long after the end of the war, the Belgian people were so grateful that they gave Hoover several hundred empty flour bags, ones not made into clothing or other supplies, as gifts for his presidential library. To me, those don't seem like the actions of a cold and emotionally distant person. Reconsider this. If you believe that the United States has a humanitarian duty in the world, it's largely because of Herbert Hoover. I'll tell you, that's the story, the very short story of the CRB. There's much more on that you can read in the endnotes and can read more if you're interested. But there are 9 other stories like that. Excellent stories on how Herbert Hoover should get your reconsideration. So make sure to pick up your copy of Marketer in Chief. Pre-orders are available anywhere books are sold. Make sure to get your copy now.